I would love to introduce to you my friend, Ned Ryun.
All right. It is great to be here, guys. I am going to try and cram in what is usually a 45-minute presentation in just a little bit over half an hour. So I'll give you a little bit more about myself, and then we're just going to roll through this presentation. But it's something that I really want you guys to be thinking about moving towards the November elections in regards to data and technology and the ability that you guys have that are sitting in this room, not only you here, but your contacts back at your campuses to really have an impact on the 2016 elections. A little bit more about myself. I'm originally from Kansas. Are there any other Kansans in the room? Of course, Jay over here. What part? What part?
City area.
I grew up in Lawrence, went to University of Kansas, Rock Chalk Jayhawk. Have been back in the DC area for about 15 years. My dad was in the US House for 10 years. Upon graduating, I thought I'll go back to DC for a year or two, see what it's like. 15 years later, I'm still there, roughly. I'm about an hour outside of DC, married with 4 kids. My wife's a saint. I've got 3 boys and a little girl, and I'm excited. I'm hopping on a plane tonight to go home and see it. So, what I want to talk to you guys about right now, though, is data and technology. And the way to set the table is to give about 20 minutes on what Obama did in 2012, and then explain a little bit of what we're doing with one of the other companies that I started called Videography, that empowers people like you guys to be able to go out and do some really incredible stuff that Obama was able to do in 2012, but it gives you the tools now that individuals can do the exact same thing. So, is the clicker, is it working? Aha, here we go. So, let's go back and really quick think about what Obama did in 2012. The core of the campaign was not flashy. Wasn't even particularly innovative, except in the willingness of senior staff to listen to numbers people rather than consultants on acting on old-fashioned political intuition. Okay, this is important to understand. This was a real transition in how the campaign was run. They started really listening to the guys that were running the data and the analytics. What were they saying? What were the numbers, the metrics that are coming back to them to help them make better decisions? So, I'm going to have to stand still and point at the computer. At the center of everything that the Obama campaign did, you can boil it down to 3 things. And these are 3 things that I want you to remember that you can apply in 2016. People, data, and message. All right? You guys have got the people power. All right? 1,000 campuses that Turning Point USA is on. But I really want to talk to you, and Charlie really wanted me to encourage you guys to really focus on the things that you can be doing to collect data, and then using that data correctly to message to people, persuade them, and then get them out to vote. So, what makes this possible? Understanding your audience and knowing how to personalize your product. How do you understand your audience? Well, I always tell people, if you really want to know how somebody feels on an issue, you ask them. It could be either face-to-face, it could be on the phone, it could be through social media, but you have to ask them. Interesting conversations that I've had with those people that have studied data and what persuades voters. Every one of us has a certain level, a certain number of issues that we feel strongly about. Typically, in every election cycle, every voter has, let's call it 3 or 4 big issues. There's one issue, typically, in a given election cycle that will leverage them to vote for a certain candidate. So what's incumbent upon you is to understand what is that one leverage issue in that given election to get them out to vote for your candidate. Understand the audience, and then know how to personalize your product. Know how to message to them. Very simple example would be, if you're going knocking on a door and you have a conversation about gun rights, therefore you know that the message after that should be about gun rights and how you message to them through either the mail, the phones, or social media. So that's a very simple explanation. Now, in 2012, Obama's victory was not an accident. Remember, in 2012, he wasn't really running on hope and change. We thought he was extremely vulnerable. We thought we had a real chance of winning the White House back. So what he had to do was focus on relentless operational excellence and do it on a massive scale. It's really interesting when you hear Jeremy Bird, who ran his field operations in 2012, and some of the data guys talk about what they were doing and organizing and using data in the years, not months, years leading up to 2012. So despite being evenly matched financially, Obama for America conceived of and built an operation 4 times the size of the Romney operation. Now, in all fairness, Obama was running as an incumbent. He had 4 years to prepare. Romney had literally about 6 months to prepare. So there was the time difference. But I would argue that with the time given to them, the Obama campaign did a much better job of the time given and the money and the resources to be more effective. So future national campaigns are going to have to grapple with how to build a massive organization and how to use it effectively. So the thing that was interesting to see about the Obama campaign is we didn't know a lot of this till after the elections actually took place, was the grassroots dominance of the Obama campaign. On election day, Obama had 300,000 volunteers versus Romney's 34,000, essentially a 10-to-1 advantage. Volunteers knocked on 7 million doors. Volunteers for Obama knocked on 7 million doors and made 11 million live phone calls for a total of 18 million live contacts on election day. Now, these weren't random contacts. These weren't random calls. These weren't random door knocks. All of these contacts were pre-targeted as strong potential votes for Obama that they had been tracking that hadn't gotten out to vote yet. This is on election day. Anybody remember how much Obama won by? But the number of votes. Just a little over 5 million. He more than tripled his winning margin in live contacts on election day. Now, this stuff doesn't happen by chance. This happens because you're building the infrastructure, you're using data effectively, and you're using technology to streamline the process by which you're doing voter contact. I've made the example that technology is not a means to an end. Technology is a means to an end. It's not the end in and of itself. In many ways, it's like Henry Ford when he took the assembly line and he took a 12-hour process to build a Model T and he shrunk it down to 2.5 hours using the production line. Same thing with technology. Technology gets us to the end goal, live contact with voters, much faster and much more efficiently, and also allows us to track data in real time. So the Obama campaign did an excellent job in 2012 in doing this. The key difference that they had, again, remember they had more time, but it was an early investment in database technology, and they also established offices and hired staff in key states, and then linked them for maximal impact. Anybody know the name Harper Reid? Does that name ring a bell? I see a few people. Harper Reid was the CTO of the Obama campaign. He was brought in April of 2011 to build what essentially became Narwhal. But he said the real innovation in his mind of the 2012 campaign was not necessarily the technology, it was the ground game. And what he was tasked with doing and coming in was making the ground game and the voter contact that much more efficient and streamlined to take every piece of data that was coming into the campaign, whether it was through social media, doors, phones, wherever it was coming in, events, rallies. The Obama campaign was extremely disciplined. Every time they did an event and a rally, they were bringing in names and emails, bringing them into the database, and then being able to use that effectively to message back. So that's what Harper Reid and the field team were able to do. They were able to take database technology, they were able to take all the hiring of the staff, and put them together for maximal impact. So, the source of power is people. Okay, this is one thing that I think the center-right, and by that I mean conservatives, Republicans, libertarians, we have not been as good about. This is why I'm so excited about you guys, the fact that you already have 1,000 campuses that you're on, the fact that you've already had 1 million conversations this last year with students. You guys have the source of power, people. You also have a force multiplier. There are force multipliers out there that you can use, the technology. So what Obama did is he took an army of volunteers and he made live targeted contacts the goal. Of course, this didn't happen overnight. In fact, the Obama campaign left open about 24 offices in Ohio between 2008 and 2012, and then ramped it up to 137 offices in 2012 and over 600 paid staff. So Election Day 2012 was the culmination of 4 years of investing into intense, strategic grassroots infrastructure and technology to make their efforts worthwhile. You guys, Charlie and Turning Point, you guys have been investing in building out college campus clubs. You guys have taken the time to really build out your team. I think you guys can have a huge impact in 2016 if you guys can be doing and focused on the right things, which will be organizing, data, technology, and messaging. Now, let's talk a little bit about data and what the Obama campaign was able to do. Huge amounts of actionable data. They used dynamic models with everybody going and knocking at doors, doing phones, all these events. They were taking all of this data that was coming in, using dynamic models. They were doing analytics. They ran 66,000 simulations each night to project who was winning in a battleground state. Final simulations for the Obama campaign were accurate to within 0.2 of a point in key states. They were also doing this in battleground counties. So the key data source, though, was live contact with voters every day. They were constant, they were relentless, they were doing it, and of course, again, on election day, had an amazing last day to get people to polls. Now, they also took their online presence with fundraising, email, website, social, and targeted digital to then bring in more streams of information, not only the doors, not only the phones, not only the events, but also all of their online presence. So with fundraising, they did such an excellent job that they were able to identify who they thought were potential donors. 1 out of every 75 people in the US gave to the Obama campaign. So we can talk at some point too about prepaid visas and some of the foreign usage of those prepaid visas, but regardless, Obama did an excellent job, his campaign did, of identifying potential donors, getting them to give. So with email, they targeted it, they tested it, they were consistent, they were relevant, they were purposeful. The Obama campaign did an excellent job in taking the data, the emails that were coming in. Again, they were disciplined. How do you get emails? Somebody's got to give you an email. What were they doing? At events and rallies, they were saying, you can't come in unless you give us your name and your email. And this is one thing that I would strongly encourage you guys to do in 2016. Every time you're holding an event, you're asking for a name and an email. This is going to require personal discipline on your guys' part to say, we are going to enforce this, we're going to collect as much data as possible at all times. Website, they were continuing to tweak the website, again, working to raise more money with the Obama campaign. Integration. This is the other thing that we're really focused on with Gravity is integrating everything, every piece of data that comes in and doing it in real time. With Narwhal, they synchronized data from multiple sources to build complete profiles of supporters. They had the dashboard, they had a call tool, they had Stork. They even built 40 different tools that they ended up not using. They were experimenting, trying to figure out what was the best thing to build to bring in data, and then use the data. This is one of the things that we find with some of our lower level clients at Gravity is they don't know what to do with the data. And so we really help them and get them to a point where they are better at using data, making it actionable. So one of the things that you guys need to be focused on is A, collecting the data, making sure that it's coming in and then acting on it in a way that's consistent. So source of power here was data, and then the force multiplier was the people. Millions of ongoing live voter contacts provided the data for analysis. And then once they had done that, they were cultivating an audience of millions of interactions through website, email, and social media. And the campaign provided itself the opportunity to gather even more data and continue to grow their audience. This was all very disciplined. One of the things that we on the center-right need to start thinking about is how can we be more disciplined and how can we be more aggressive at not only building out infrastructure, but also integrating all the data flows that are coming in and then using them correctly. People have asked me, who do I think is doing a pretty good job this time around? Honestly, Ted Cruz is doing a really good job with their data and technology. Rand Paul's doing a pretty good job. But there are a couple others. But Cruz seems to be the one that's doing a really good job of being very consistent, very disciplined on this front. So I say all of this to bring it all together for a purpose. People are the key to gathering the richest data. All right, you can go out, if you really look at it, you can go out and buy all the data in the world that you want, but to find the richest data that is pertinent in that given election cycle, you've got to go have people that are actually having conversations with people in that given election cycle. Data is the key to finding the audience by learning their needs and preferences, and then you expand the target audience, provide an opportunity to gather more data, more money, and expand the audience, okay? So I'm flying through this, but I want you guys, if you guys walk away with anything from this, think about the data, how you're going to be disciplined in collecting the data, and then how you use the data effectively to message and expand your audience and persuade them. The thing that I think is really cool about what you guys have right now is where you guys are in kind of the political life cycle of center-right politics. A couple cycles ago, the digital media, social media guy was not allowed a seat at the table. They were not allowed a seat at the big boys table. I think, well, now they are. As we've seen, more and more social and digital guys are giving a significant role in the decision-making process. I think in the next couple election cycles, the person that will get the next seat at the big boys table is the person that has data and technology down pat. And that's going to be one of you guys. So I would strongly encourage you, if you're interested in doing campaigns in the future, really focus on how you can get better at using data and technology and be that expert that people are going to want in their campaign. So message now drives the campaign, speaks to the need of the audience, builds trust, always expanding the audience. I'm going to skip through a couple of these slides because I want to show you a couple things and I'm running short on time. So one of the things too is you've got to be consistent about this. I've seen people that are like, yes, we totally understand what Obama did. We need to go out. We need to start collecting data. We need to be disciplined. We need to be doing, and they do it for a couple times and then they stop. It's one of those things that it has to be relentless. You have to think about it all the time. You have to be thinking about every time we do an event, are we collecting the data that we need to collect? Are we then taking that data and then messaging effectively to those people that gave us the data? So again, it's one of those things as you're coming into 2016, it's not about doing it once or twice or 2 or 3 times. It's about doing it again and again and again and making it a part of our DNA. This is one of the things too that the left has been extremely good about. Not only the online organizing and the technology and the data, the offline organizing, the building of infrastructure over not just months but years. They're consistent, they're disciplined, they never stop. And this is one thing that we've got to get better at is how do we do this again and again and again. So, if we can get the clicker to move. Again, at the center of all, people, data, and message. You guys are the people. Not only you sitting here, but everybody back at home on your campuses. The data is something that you guys can collect and collect more of it and start building out the database and then message based off the data. So, can anyone do this? And I'm just going to run briefly through this so we can stay on time. The answer is yes. What Obama did in 2012, you actually now have the ability to do. As individuals, whether it's on a campus, whether it's small campaigns, you guys have the tools and the resources are out there to be able to do this sort of thing. So, one of the things that we've been working on with Videography is a couple different principles. Integrated database technology, again, integrating every piece of data that comes into a campaign or an organization in real time. So that might mean doors, it might mean phones, it might mean events, it might mean email, social media, every piece of data is coming in, and then as you're watching the data coming in, being able to make better decisions moving forward, making intelligent decisions on all the data that's coming in. So, one of the things that we've done is, again, we've integrated phones, doors, surveys, online, email, everything. So I'm going to show you a little bit of what we've done, but it's to give you an idea of what's out there and what the abilities, capabilities are. This is our walk list. How many of you guys have volunteered on campaigns? Great, awesome. There's a few hands that aren't raised. Hopefully you're going to be volunteering in 2016. How many of you have gone door to door? Excellent. When you're going door to door, do you go to every door? Should you go to every door? Thank you. 101. You should go to targeted doors. You should have a preset target list that you should be going to have conversations with. One day it might be independent women. The next day it might be Republican males 45 to 55. You've got to have targeted lists within having them have targeted conversations. So inside of Gravity, you can pull up an entire precinct right there, and then you filter down based off a variety of tags or vote history or registration or age. You go and have a targeted conversation. Once you've built your walk list, you import it into the mobile app, and you've built your survey. Again, these are custom tools we've built. You can build your own customized surveys. You go have conversations with these people. You can have conversations on the issues. What are the issues that concern you the most? Is it the economy? Is it education? Is it jobs? Is it spending? Is it Second Amendment? Is it taxes? Is it policy? Ask the question, what is the most important issue for you in this election? Once you've gotten that answer, who are you going to support? Right now, Batman is winning the Videography presidential race, but you can ask, like, who are you going to vote for? Why are you voting for them? What's your most important issue? All right, and once you've done that, you start drilling down a little bit more. Why are you supporting Rand Paul or Carly or Marco or Scott Walker? So you drill down and understand why they're supporting, understand the most important issue. At the end of a survey, do we have your email? Get an email. Do we have the right phone number for you? And then you can make additional notes as well. It's data collection. All right, you're collecting as much data as possible. And it's done in real time so you can actually track it. Then you're also going through and the check marks mean you've actually gone to that household, you've had a conversation, you're moving on to the next household. These are some of the data tags that you can collect. Some of these we bought. 11 to 15 years is home ownership. There are children. But then you can see the issue economy, issue spending. These are some of the issues that were collected based off conversations on somebody's doorstep. Again, it's one of those things that once you've collected the data, Don't let it just sit there. Understand what you're supposed to do with it moving forward. This is our phone bank system. It works very similar to the door, the walk app. We also have a texting ability. One of my guys put this together for a conference in Germany, thus the German question. But you can do flash polls inside of a text, inside of text messaging. You can also then collect the data and connect it. Right there is one of my guys that works for me, Chris Littleton. You can see that we have all the data that has come in through a variety of conversations. Again, this is a fake profile, but with real profiles. And then you see the data tags that are collected on the left-hand side of the screen. These are data tags that are collected based off conversations on the door, on the phone, at events. I'll show you some of the cool stuff we've done with Eventbrite in being able to not only register for events, but also collect data as you are bringing people into events. So we've integrated with SurveyMonkey. Have any of you guys used SurveyMonkey? Okay, good. Very easy to use. Now with Voter Gravity, if you do a SurveyMonkey survey, once the people answer the questions, hit submit, that data will come in real time and append to that person's profile inside the database. So try to think about how you guys can use some of the tools that are out there, whether it's on social media, through email, even when you're doing booths at various events on campus. Put up surveys as people, as you're asking them, can you do a quick 2-question survey, and then hit submit, you're collecting data. So not only collecting names and emails, but collecting various bits of data as you're doing events on campus. So we've also integrated with Eventbrite. Again, one of the things you can do with Eventbrite is not only register for events, but you can ask quick 4 or 5 questions as they're registering for the event and collect more data. The thing that I keep on reinforcing is use every opportunity, whether it's doors, phones, events, rallies, collect data. Collect data that can then be used to be more effective in targeting and better messaging. MailChimp. We've all used MailChimp? Yes, a lot of us. Good. Again, it's one of the things too that we've done with Gravity is we've integrated with MailChimp. If you're using it, the responses back are going to drop right back in real time into the database. We've also used Anodot for the fundraising that we've also integrated with the Gravity database. Again, one of the things that you're going to see and you should be thinking about as you're going into 2016 is all the data that's coming into the same place. Obama did an excellent job of doing that with all the tools that he built. You should not have 4 or 5 different databases. You should have a database where everything's dropping in. This is the dashboard. Again, you're seeing stuff in real time. You put your vocals up there and all these surveys, and then you're tracking in real time what's actually happening. And again, this is the bottom. You can track in the field the volunteers who are doing the best, who's doing the best on doors, who's doing the best on phones. And then you can also track your top survey questions as well. So, guys, that was like a world record for that presentation in length of time. Again, in wrapping up, so I can have like maybe 1 question. I got 3 minutes. 1 question. I want you guys to be thinking about in 2016 how you guys are going to be disciplined in gathering data at every opportunity possible. And again, Charlie's going to be part of that process and helping you guys figure that one out. But collecting the data, then using the data on your campuses to be more effective in messaging. If somebody's coming to one of your events, comes past your booth on campus and says, the most important issue to me is, I don't know, pick an issue. Somebody throw out an issue.
Gun rights.
Gun rights, I already used that. Another issue.
ISIS.
What?
ISIS.
ISIS. I don't know, what's an issue on the campuses right now besides...
Free speech.
I was going to say ridiculous safe spaces. I don't know. Free speech. Okay, great. That was a good one. Open carry. But we'll say free speech. Somebody came by your booth and said, I'm really concerned about free speech and what it all means. What are you going to message to them the next time around? You're going to send them an email the next day and say, hey, great to have a conversation with you. Here's some great information on free speech. And then you continue that conversation on that issue. So that's what you're doing. It's very simple to do. You've got to be disciplined about it. You can't start and stop. It's got to be consistent. It's got to be long term. You do it, and it becomes part of your DNA. It's going to make us more successful, not only in 2016, but beyond. Time for 1 question. Yes?
Okay. I use MailChimp a lot to reach out to I use MailChimp to reach out to the students that we have in my organization, and it's pretty big. We have like 100 and something member roster, but MailChimp sends out like the amounts of clicks and stuff, opens and all that stuff. How would you be able to get it to be more effective if you're continuously getting like only a 50-something% opening rate, make it more interesting to people?
You know, test subject lines. Are you doing some of that A/B testing, like what subject headers are you using? I don't know. There's a variety of things. I wouldn't call myself an email guru, so I don't want to give you like God's gospel truth on that. But you can play around with some of the subject headers and timing. Sometimes time of the day really does impact who opens, who doesn't open. So that was quick. One more.
Hey, I know new media is also being tied into how we collect data
Right.
in the field. Can you offer any thoughts, or what kind of things are you seeing out there that could be really helpful to individuals? Or I don't know, just anything down.
So one of the things that we're really trying to do is, and we've just done a couple of tweaks with the Gravity database, is we're trying to, we're able now to collect all the Twitter handles and then bounce them back against voter files, and then you have a Twitter handle with the voter file connected. The thing that frustrated me a little bit about Facebook and what they did earlier this year, it's made it a little bit tougher. We had a really cool tool where you guys could log in, match your Facebook friends against the voter file, and then do peer-to-peer data tagging. It was pretty awesome, and then Facebook changed its rules in the spring, so that was frustrating. One of the things that just, the most important thing is being able to link what we are trying to do, and we've made good steps in the right direction, is linking social media, Twitter handles, Facebook, all that back to an actual voter file, making the match. And then you've got, the ability not only to message to them, phones and doors and all that stuff, but then you have a very targeted, you know who this voter is on Twitter or Facebook, and be able to message them as well and be consistent across, mail, phones, all that. So be able to link those.